I've got 3 kids that I'm sending to school next week, so 2 of them here in Newtown. I think every parent's in the back of their mind when they send their child to high school ever since Columbine is that this would happen in your high school. You don't ever think it would happen to first graders.
I was actually in my room in the morning and I heard a lot of sirens. I drove right down through the middle of Sandy Hook and there was a policeman like running on foot, and he stopped traffic and got out of his car running, and then people were standing outside and he ran back into his car and sped off.
My little boy and my little girl lost friends. There's nothing to articulate what we're feeling. We finally got the helicopters to go away.
Once the death tolls were going up, we just sat down and took a deep breath and then decided like the only thing we could do was play music.
Something like Sandy Hook is the least likely thing that could ever happen, especially in a community like this. But it did.
We just read the list of the kids and the teachers. Everybody's just in shock from this shit. Nobody knows how to respond.
I never thought about schools having guns because I never thought that anything like this would ever happen, especially in Newtown. But moving forward, I would fight to have that mandated into law, to have, you know, at least one gun, one pistol. Had they had a gun at the school, things would have been different.
My name is Lou Palumbo. I own a private security organization known as Elite Intelligence and Protection. I'm a retired law enforcement agent. You go to Chicago, there is no provision for you to acquire a handgun in the city of Chicago. They have 40 to 50 shootings a weekend. People are scared in this country, and their perception in solving or resolving this problem is to obtain these deadly weapons. That's part of what's driving this. You're driven every day through the media, for example, about the threat of terrorism, information supplied to you about shootings in malls, schools, movie theaters, and what do you think the knee-jerk reaction is of the American public? To go out and get that tool that they think is going to help preserve themselves, the almighty firearm.
President Obama is talking about, you know, trying to ban guns in the U.S., okay, which I'm against. Most people, I think, are against. We should take them out of the hands of people like the guy yesterday, absolutely. However, if you take the guns away from citizens of the U.S., we probably would have never had a gun in that school to protect those kids yesterday. So it doesn't make sense to take guns away from people. People hunt, people buy guns to protect their families.
The problem is we're allowing people who should never be able to acquire these firearms to acquire them. There isn't a proper vetting process in place as one that we have in law enforcement. We have no psychological screening of people to get their hands on these weapons today. This isn't the 1960s. The evolution of firearms is dramatic.
I just heard that the guy had a Bushmaster what he was shooting those kids with. It's essentially an M16, isn't it? I can't even imagine. That's Sandy Hook School is our elementary school. That's where my kids went to practice, that's where I went. The little guy I'm talking about, Jack, he was part of the football family, and that family's tight, and that little boy, I mean, he was the kind of little boy that he would have been trying to get out of that room, you know. He was a tough little kid, and I'm just so pissed. You know, I would have liked it if he was my own. He was such a cool little kid. Remember, we were even starting to talk about him. Look, he's gonna be good, look at him. He's got it, he's tough, you know.
I don't want to judge somebody who was murdered by her own son, and I won't take that attitude about it. But it is hard for me to understand as a mother. I would want to see somebody whose child was clearly, you know, had some major problems. I would want to see her address them as much as she possibly could as a mom.
If you ban the guns and you take the guns away from the people, we're not going to be able to protect ourselves. And those people that can get the guns illegally will harm us and our families. So I'm totally against that. I hope, President Obama, you're listening. It's we have to protect ourselves. And especially our children. They are the future of our country.
If you look at the number of restrictions that we have to protect everybody on the road, including our teenagers whose brains aren't completely formed in terms of their judgment, we make sure that they don't drive after certain hours. They're not allowed to drive with other kids in the car. We put these precautions in place because it's a huge responsibility, and you can do a lot of damage with a car, and we all get that. It's even more obvious with guns.
That's our school. That's not just our town. That's this village's school. It's right over that hill right there.
Do you worry about your own safety, Jack?
I think we all do.
How we might have prevented it was through educating the public as to the need of safeguarding your firearms, trying to implement laws that require you to have psychological screening before you can acquire handguns.
Certainly don't understand how there were guns in the house with a child who had such obvious disturbing symptoms.
Examining the mental health issue in this country, which apparently is deteriorating on a rather rapid pace for some Americans, you know, understanding how to get them help, how to look at the signs and the indicators that lead to incidents like this.
I can't help but wonder if closing all the mental health facilities that we used to have Fairfield Hills here in town. We had, it housed hundreds of people with mental disabilities. Now we have a lot more homeless. It seems that a lot of people with mental illnesses aren't taken care of and don't get the services they need, and guns are so readily available, it does seem like there's a correlation.
There's no such thing as single causality, and there isn't going to be a magic wand to fix this problem. We have to intelligently go in, dissect this problem, and then proceed forward with a method. And the method exists, we just have to come to compromise.
Maybe it's time to start not accepting that the way things are in terms of guns and violence and whatever is contributing to it. And
haven't we been able to get to compromise?
Because of extreme positions, for example, with organizations like the NRA, and the extreme left liberal element of our country. One's position is if you can see lightning and hear thunder, you should be allowed to have a weapon or a firearm. The extreme left liberal feels like they're going to wave a magic wand and make approximately 300 million firearms that we can account for in this country today just magically and mysteriously go away. Neither position is prudent, nor is it going to happen. You got to sit down and implement some mechanism, as we have in law enforcement, to vet people before we give you deadly weapons.
This country needs to all come together, and we need to get a gun in every single school across the country.
It renews our commitment as a nation to finally look at it and address it a lot more than we have been.
I just hope nothing happens tomorrow where suddenly our attention is diverted onto another topic, probably something of severity, but allows us to become distracted from what happened here today.
How many more of these are going to have to happen before something real is done? How many more little kids are going to have to be murdered?